in 2017 with the Trump tax law, they said, oh, we're going to get rid of this marriage penalty. Well, the marriage penalty wasn't really a penalty. It was a two-income earner penalty. So the brackets used to be about 50% or actually about 60% higher for married couples. So if one person was working, you actually had a lot lower bracket. Welcome to Wealth Creator Radio, where we help people overcome the uncertainty of having enough retirement income. I'm your host, Eric Heckman, a certified financial planner with over 30 years of experience. We want you to enjoy life and not have to wonder where your money will come from and how long it'll last. My mission is to show you how to develop a personalized income plan so you can retire more and have worry less wealth. Here at Wealth Creator Radio, we cut through the noise and get straight to what matters. We understand that the world of retirement planning can be filled with confusing products, ever-changing tax laws, and volatile markets. That's why we're here to help successful people like you navigate the uncertainty and create a blueprint for a thriving, work-optional life.
Hi there, welcome. I am Luann Fulmer. I'm joined, of course, by Eric Heckman. He's founder and president of Heckman Financial. And, if you think about retirement, you think, oh, it's going to be a time to relax and just enjoy my life. But financial mistakes can make it all very, very stressful. Today, we're going to get into the top retirement challenges and some ways to avoid them. But first, here's our phone number. As we get started, you may call or text the word VISIT to this number, 800-454-1184. Another thing you can do is text the word toolbox, to 800-454-1184. You can get the toolbox, which includes the book that Eric has written and some other wonderful resources. Or if you text VISIT, you can get on their calendar and go in for a complimentary visit about your retirement plan. Wealth Creator Radio is our website. So happy to have you with us, Eric. Glad to be here with you.
Yeah, no, it's always good to be kind of just going over what people should be doing, right? And what things to be thinking about when you think about retirement and going from there.
All right. So let's get into it. Why do people make these kinds of errors in the first place?
Yeah. Avoidance, right? Nobody wants to deal with this stuff, right? So a lot of times they just don't have a plan. They don't even know what's going to be, what they're doing. And, in retirement's big change. It's a lot of stress. People freak out a little bit. One of my favorite things that one of my clients said was it was like those old cartoons with Bugs Bunny and stuff, and Wile E. Coyote runs off the cliff and he's running in place before he falls. And, that's what he said it felt like, because he didn't know where he was going to land and what was next. And, so it's a lot to be thinking about. And then, really just, having a plan, though, I think is probably the biggest one is not just financial, but, plan for everything, right?
Right. And that's what you and your team do is you make sure that your retirees have a full plan. And, you call it the blueprint to worry less wealth. And we'll get into that here in a little bit, because I want to make sure everybody understands what you guys offer and what you guys do for retirees. But give us the first mistake that retirees should watch out for once they do retire.
Well, not having specifically a withdrawal plan, a specific, what we call personalized income plan. And really, what that's going over is it's talking about, you probably have several buckets, right? You got 401k, IRA, savings accounts, regular investments. Which money do you take first? How much do you take from which one? What makes the most sense? And lots of times people don't even think about that whole thing. And what's the tax ramifications from taking money from one versus the other? So just knowing about withdrawals, I think, is a big one.
Yeah, that's so true. I think, that's something that none of us are taught. So it's really great to be with a financial professional like you, because you can help us, educate us, because we don't learn that on our own, right? We really don't. There's no retirement class to take. All right. What is another thing we should avoid as retirees?
Well, the math is exactly backward when you withdraw. So when you're, working, .com crash, '08 crash, all these different crashes that happen, people just say, hang in there, don't sell, you'll be fine, all that type of stuff. Well, when you're in retirement, you can't just wait. You need that money every month and every single month, even if the market's down, even if things are going bad. So lots of times, when people talk about taking out that money, they don't realize that if they don't have some money protected, some money, that's safe from loss, they're going to lock in those losses when they take that money out. And yeah, that can be pretty ugly because those shares don't come back because you spent them, right? So yeah,
Mhm.
that's a big one.
As far as investing goes, are people making mistakes there, Eric?
Well, I mean, there's kind of two sets of people, right? There's ones who just go, well, I've always had it always in the market and 401ks, right? So, any 401k is pretty much 100% in stocks and bond market. So all that money's at risk. And then there's the other side where people go, oh, I just want to have it all in banks. So I just want to have it all super, safe. Well, what happens when rates go down? What happens when, we go back down to the, under 3, under 2% range? When it's 4 or 5 or 6, it might work, but 2 to 3s doesn't. And, things ebb and flow. They go up and down, right? So, you don't want to be too conservative. You also don't want to be too crazy about it, right? So you need to have that nice balance and have a plan. So usually what we do is we have people have so much in foundational assets, stuff that can't go away, that's guaranteed and protected. We have some steady income funds that are stuff that pays good cash flow, pays good dividends. And then finally, the market money. But most people only think about the market money. So again, this all goes back to not having enough education, not having enough planning. And so what we did is we set up a digital toolbox that has a lot of great stuff like, will my money last as long as I do? Social Security timing decision. Am I paying too much in tax and retirement? So those are some quick downloads. Those are like 10, 15 page, really easy to read types of things to have. And even a digital copy of my book, Worry Less Wealth. So you can get all of that by just texting the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or click the link below.
And if you are just joining us, this is Wealth Creator Radio. We're talking about top retirement mistakes that could drain your nest egg, and nobody wants that. So, Eric, give us another retirement challenge that we as retirees should avoid.
Well, just messing up Social Security. Like I mentioned, we've got a book on that that you can quickly read, or a paper, I should say. And, sometimes people turn it on too early and then they end up going back to work and then they pay back all the Social Security. So that's not good. Lots of times they don't really pay attention between if they're married about the two spouses and who should file when and what's the ramifications, because it depends on your age, depends on who worked more or less. And there's a lot of different things there too. So not having a Social Security timing plan is really a critical mistake because there's a lot of money there and you want to get it right, but you also don't want to wait forever. A lot of times people wait too long to turn it on, and they would have actually had a higher net worth if they turned it on sooner. So it's not just wait till 70 isn't the right answer. So it's what does it make sense for your specific situation? And that's why you need personal advice.
Exactly. That's what you guys do with that blueprint to worryless wealth. And one of the first things you look at is income and Social Security. Now, another thing you look at is healthcare. Are retirees making mistakes there?
Well, sometimes people just say, "Hey, I want to retire." They're sick of their job, they quit, and then they go, "Okay, I'm 63, so I should be okay, right?" And it's like, did you add in how much your health insurance costs? So, it's usually 1,000 to 1,500 per person under 65. Once you hit 65, now it's not as bad, but you still need to have a plan for a Medicare supplement. You need to make sure you have that all taken care of. And even long-term care, having some sort of plan. Are you paying for that out of pocket? Are you going to have insurance help cover that? What is the plan there? Because, it's very well likely to happen to one, especially one of you if you're married. And
Right. Yeah.
just having a plan is critical.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And anything else as I'm looking at our clock? Anything else retirees should watch out for?
Well, like I said, having some money that's guaranteed that you don't have to go rush into selling, right? You don't want to be a forced seller. The diversification prevents desperation. So, not having to be desperate and sell. So if you leave 100% of your money in the 401k, first of all, the 100% of your money is going to be taxable. So you can't have any tax planning because it's all taxable. It's all in the market. So the markets go down, everything's going to go down. So yeah, you need to have some foundational and steady income money on top of your regular funds. So, that's really the key. So again, that's why we set up that digital toolbox. So if you want to get have the ability to go get that, and you can even set up a time to talk with us. All you got to do is text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184. Click the link below.
Do you know whether your retirement plan has any weak points? Discover ways on giving your financial future the proper tune-up. Simply go online to wealthcreatortoolbox.com to gain a better understanding in taxes, Social Security, and other ways to manage your portfolio. That's wealthcreatortoolbox.com.
So many people think of retirement as a destination. We all work hard, we save, and then we arrive. But for millions of women, retirement is not a destination. It's a marathon that could run 30, maybe even 40 years. And the plan that many of them have may not last that long. So, Eric, tell us, what is it about a woman's retirement that makes it so fundamentally different from a man's?
Yeah, well, I mean, good questions for sure. There's a lot of issues here, right? One, of course, is they live a lot longer, so that's one aspect, right? So you're going to be around for a lot longer and have a lot more years, and often they're also taking care of somebody. I've got more and more clients. It's amazing how many clients now that are retired, with parents still alive. I mean, these parents are often in their 90s or hundreds. And so, you think you were going to be retired from work to hang out and do stuff, but lots of times they retired and they're still taking care of them. Have a lot that also are taking care of, of grandkids too. So it can kind of go both ways, right? So so that's one of those things that is more complicated for women because there's a lot more things going on, and they also sometimes haven't paid attention to their money as much. And sometimes they've set that to the side. And so, that's one of the big issues is I think a lot of women aren't really focused enough on that.
Right. So if longevity is the central problem for women, then, what does that mean for someone who's been following the conventional rules of retirement? And are those rules still working?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's the kind of famous or infamous 4% rule. And this was developed in the 90s when interest rates were really high and you could put a lot of money in bonds and such. But, it was really more geared to a shorter term retirement, not 30, 40 years, because people just didn't think about that back then, right?
Yeah.
Obviously inflation, as we've seen in the last few years, has spiked up. And, when people say that inflation's only now 2 or 3%, but it was 4 or 5 or something like that, it doesn't mean the prices went down. It just means they slowed how much they're going up by, right? So what got more expensive didn't get cheaper. It's just getting, less expensive each year than it compared to before. So, that can really eat up a lot of your money in retirement. And, and then also a lot of women, they have to all of a sudden figure this all out. They've often, said, oh, I'll just let my husband take care of it. And then, sometimes they have no interest in finance. And then all of a sudden they're in charge, and they could be in charge for 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 years. So it could be a long time. And so, there's a lot of things that women really should be focused on.
Yeah. So, talking about women managing their finances alone at some point, I've experienced that with 2 of my best friends. They've lost their husbands early, and I'm guessing both of them, the husbands were managing their finances. So I watched them, and I see, them, facing this challenge for the very first time in their life. But for many women, they're even arriving at retirement with less saved than their male counterparts in the first place. So what creates that gap before retirement even starts?
Yeah, well, I mean, lots of times, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, if they were unpaid caregivers for either the kids, when maybe they took time off from workforce, or they've had to take care of their parents. Years ago, I had a client that she was did kind of the office machine, like copier sales and other stuff, equipment, and she was. I think she had maybe a little bit of base, but she was mostly all commission. But she had to all of a sudden take care of her 2 elderly parents. And she couldn't work as much. And then all of a sudden her income dropped. And then she finally had to stop working. Mm-hmm. And then when her parents passed away, half the assets went to her brother, who never did anything in terms of care, and her, who basically took out 4 years of earnings, 4 years of savings, and didn't make any money really during that time frame. And she got the same share that he got, which was didn't seem quite as fair, right?
Not
So,
really. Mm-mm.
yeah. And, so lots of times, I mean, for her, it means a smaller 401k, it means smaller, assets saved up, smaller Social Security check. And that's what happens to a lot of women, that they took those times off for that. So, so that's one of those big things that, I think really that people really need to learn a lot more about. And, one of the big things that we do here at Heckman Financial is make sure people are educated, that they've got the materials, because, we don't want to just say, oh, you have to come talk to us, and that's the only way you can get any information. No, we want to give you some information right away. So we set up a digital toolbox that has things like, will you last as long as your money, right? And, our Social Security timing decisions, are you paying too much taxes in retirement? A copy of my book, Worry Less Wealth. And, and then of course, if you do want to set a time to meet with us, you can do that too. So super easy way to get all this info is just the text word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or click the link below online.
And we're so happy you joined us. This is Wealth Creator Radio with certified financial planner Eric Heckman. And Eric and his team, Team Heckman, put together a complete plan for you. So it's a full retirement plan, and everything that you need to look at in retirement, they can help you with. So we're so happy you're joining us. Hopefully you're getting a lot out of this. And a lot of women listening right now, Eric, might be, thinking, my current plan maybe doesn't reflect any of what Eric is mentioning. How do you help someone get from where they are to a plan built for their actual reality?
Yeah, no, that's an excellent question. So, what I find is most people, the biggest concern is really just, am I going to be okay, right? Is this money going to last? Am I going to be fine? And usually, am I going to be okay again? And so, so there's a couple things in that. Is first and foremost is that income and spending plan. So looking at where's that money coming from? Obviously, if somebody is single, then it's just the one source. If they were married, but all of a sudden they're widowed, there's one less Social Security check. But a lot of the other costs don't go down, like property taxes, insurances, a lot of other things. And so now what we want to do is look at that and say, okay, if I'm going to be spending, on average this much per month for the rest of my life with inflation, with my Social Security coming in, with my other assets, will this money make it? And, if it does, hey, that feels great, right? You're going to be happy. If it says you're running out of money at 95, okay, hopefully, you get a house to back up on and other things. If it says you're running out of money at 70 or 75, well, that's not good.
That's a little too soon.
Yeah. It means you might work a little longer, might need to change your plans, retire someplace, other place, or, downsize or, something, but you don't want to be 74 when you find out you're going to run out of money at 75. So, we do want to have this ahead of time. So at least,
Yeah.
And, and so that's one of the big keys, I think, is just knowing about those things and then knowing where to put the money, knowing, which pot of money should I take first? That's another big one. So there's a lot to be involved in all that stuff. And so, once you have that income plan, then it tells you what your investments should be doing. It dictates the lifetime taxes you're going to pay. So can we get that lowered? Obviously, healthcare and legacy are two other big issues. So those are the 5 areas that we always go over: is income, investments, taxes, healthcare, and legacy. So you need to have a plan for that. But what we do is have a first meeting first, just to find out what concerns you are. And then there's no cost to having that second meeting, and we can actually show you where you're headed. So if you want to take advantage of that, or you just want to get some of that great info in our digital toolbox, just text word toolbox, 800-454-1184. Again, text word toolbox, 800-454-1184. Click the link below.
If something's worth doing, it's worth doing right. There's a particular time of life this phrase couldn't be more appropriate. How can you know you'll live the retirement you've always imagined? After all, life can be so unpredictable. You've worked hard and saved. Watch your accounts go up and down with the market. Your advisor says, don't worry, you'll be fine. But you still don't feel confident. Eric Heckman at Heckman Financial has a checklist to help you find out if you're on the right track for retirement. If you can check all the boxes with confidence, you may be ready for retirement. retirement? If not, Eric can help you address any potential costly mistakes. To get Eric Heckman at Heckman Financial's complimentary checklist, call or text LIST to 800-454-1184. Call or text LIST to 800-454-1184. Firm offers insurance services. Investment advisory services offered through Heckman Financial and Insurance Services, Inc. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Hi there, welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about why women face a fundamentally different retirement landscape, longer lives, career paths, or career gaps even, the very real probability of managing money alone. And I want to dig into something now that affects millions of married women that a lot of people are not talking about, but it's clearly the ripple effect of a husband's Social Security decision, Eric. Why is this so important? And also tell us what often goes wrong.
Yeah, well, Social Security can be super complicated, especially for married couples, because there's different options. And there's some old advice that no longer applies. That sometimes you hear people. It used to be a trick where you could turn on your spousal benefit, then flip to your primary one. That went away almost 10 years ago. So sometimes I still hear people talking about that. And it's like, nope, that's old. And so there's kind of two main ones for married couples. The big one is, are you can claim your own benefits or you can do spousal benefits. And so the spousal benefits gets really confusing because most people say, oh, it's 50% of whatever your husband's benefit was. So if his is higher, you get 50%. Well, kind of. You get 50% if you wait till your full retirement age, which is for most people now 67. And that your spouse turned it on at least at their full retirement age, which if that was 67, that'd be the same difference. So,
okay.
But lots of times, say maybe the husband's 67 and the wife's 65, she's Medicare age. They want to turn on her Social Security. So they turn it on then. Well, it's not going to be 50% anymore. Now it's going to be a lower percentage. And so you get a little bit less. Now, again, that also spousals only if it's better than your own. So, just throw some numbers on there so to make it a little bit less, less wordy, right? So say, if your spouse gets 4,000 at 67, 50% would be 2,000, but
right.
Maybe your benefit's 3,000. So you would just turn on your own. So you don't have to really worry about your spouse when they turn it on or not.
Okay.
But if it's flipped and say, your benefit's only 1,500 and, your spousal benefit's 2,000, well then, yeah, you do probably want to wait, to get that spousal benefit.
Let's say it's the husband in this case, does the husband have to be claiming his yet?
Yeah. So So one thing you can do, one slight trick you could do is if it makes sense for the person's financial plan, the couple's financial plan, you could have that, the wife turn on her 1,500. Mm-hmm. And then when he turns his on, she might get a little bit of an adjustment.
Okay.
So especially if she's older, that's when that comes into play more often.
Okay.
So yeah, that's why when you just say, oh yeah, well, Google or now AI told me this is the best, they don't necessarily know all those little details and all those little things. And, and one annoying part actually is with Social Security, they redid their website a couple of years ago and it's really well done, but they still don't have a spousal calculator because it's only looking at your own record. It's not looking at a joint record. So it's not like, kind of like when you log on to the bank or your brokerage account, you can see your joint investment account and your individual IRA.
Right.
With Social Security, it's only the individual part. You can't see joint anything. So it would be really nice if they had that, built in to pull in the data. But and then the other big one is the widow's penalties you kind of alluded to is, what happens is in 2017 with the Trump tax law, they said, oh, we're going to get rid of this marriage penalty. Well, a marriage penalty wasn't really a penalty. It was a 2-income earner penalty. So the brackets used to be about 50% or actually about 60% higher for married couples. So if one person was working, you actually had a lot lower bracket. But what they did is they just doubled all the brackets. Well, what that means now is the brackets drop in half when somebody dies. Mm-hmm. So, so if your income was 150,000, and say the bracket was 200, when one person dies, that bracket's now 100, and maybe your income went down to 120.
Right.
And so now you're actually over that bracket, which is kind of crazy because you have less income.
I know.
And
I
now
don't
you have
like
a higher
that.
tax bracket. So
Yeah.
so the widow's penalty is really that. And I had unfortunately, he just passed away actually, but 91. He had a nice long life,
Wow. Yeah.
but when his previous wife had passed away, he made 20,000 less and paid 2,000 more in taxes. And you're just like, what?
Doesn't make sense.
And that was that widow's penalty in full view, very obvious from one year to the next. And so so that does mess up people's taxes a lot, and so that's something to be thinking about. And that's why we actually have that digital toolbox, set up, so that way you can get access to stuff like, will my money last as long as I do? It's a big question, mostly, especially for women. And, then stuff, am I paying too much tax in retirement, Social Security timing decision, all that are some quick little reads that you can do. They're just about 10, 15 pages, not jargony. So easy to read. And a copy of my book, Worry Less Wealth, and a way to set a time to talk with us here at Team Heckman. So all you got to do is text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or click the link below online.
All right. We're so happy to have you with us. I'm Luann Fulmer here with Eric Heckman, president of Heckman Financial. So I want to go back to something that you mentioned in our very first segment today, the non-negotiable need for a woman to be an active, informed participant in financial decisions. Tell us what that actually looks like in practice, and what financial readiness for a woman truly means.
Yeah, no. So it's certainly something that women should really be focused on. I mean, one of the biggest times I remember this was in right after the .com crash. I was meeting with this one couple, and he was super aggressive in the market, and she's like, "Oh no, I'm super conservative, and so I don't think I lost that much." And I looked at her statement. I'm like, "Man, you've lost almost half your money." She's like, "What?" And she's like, "Oh, hold it. That's right. He picked my funds." And he picked her 401k options. And
great.
So on her 401k, she was funding, and then she lost a ton, during that time frame. So, so being informed and paying attention are not necessarily the same things, right? Yeah. You want to really know what's going on, not just, oh, okay, thanks for doing that. For most people, usually the guy is a little bit more aggressive in terms of risk tolerance, and lots of times the ladies aren't. So, you might be unfortunately surprised in a negative way in some of those bad times about that. So, but also just knowing what's going on, because we're just actually met with somebody just recently again. But I've had this in the past where somebody wants to basically do a little bit of work with us. Not as much, because they really want just to talk to us, know who we are, and have their wife ready to call us when they pass away. And so we're kind of like on reserve, I guess, or their backup, because they know their spouse won't, just doesn't care about these types of things. It's not their thing to do. And so, so they'll maybe have us manage some small account, or they'll do some just, basic planning, really, and just to have the spouse have a place to go to afterwards. So, I mean, at least that part's good that they're at least paying attention. But I mean, you need to know what's going on. I kind of liken it to, like if you're going on a trip or something, you may not need to know, how long this one tour is and what company did you pick, and but you probably want to know at least, what country, what cities you're going to, those kind of basic stuff, right? When are we leaving? Things like that. So I think women, even if you aren't into the financial picture, you would need to at least know those basics.
Sure.
And, that's the key. So, again, that's why we're here. We can give you that access to that great digital toolbox. All you have to do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or click the link below online. This is Eric Heckman. I'm excited to share a sneak peek of a movie I co-produced, The Psychology of Retirement.
Who are
the baby boomers?
If I had to describe the baby boomer generation in one word, it would be independent.
To be honest, I have done zero preparations.
My number one fear about retirement is the future. 20 years from now. I just want enough money to be able to live.
The whole purpose of money is to give yourself a better life. Not just for your money to pay your bills, but to reduce an amount of anxiety and uncertainty that you have in your life so that you can actually enjoy these years that you probably spent decades building up for.
To get your free link to the movie, text the word movie to 800-454-1184. That's movie 800-454-1184.
Investment advisory and insurance services offered through Heckman Financial and Insurance Services, Inc., an SEC registered investment advisor. Hi, I'm Luann Fulmer here with Eric Heckman. He's president of Heckman Financial. He's also the author of the book Worry Less Wealth, which is something that you can get complimentary. All you have to do is just text the word toolbox to our number 800-454-1184. You can get that book and a bunch of other educational materials. Very helpful for your retirement. So, all right, Eric, we are going to bring you some retiree questions again, okay? And then I'm going to do a lightning round of questions for you to just think fast personally. And we're going to kind of get to know you a little more with some fun little questions I'm going to ask you. But first, I want to start with a retiree question. And this first one is, and I know you do get this all the time, how do I figure out how much I'll have to pay in taxes in retirement?
It's easy. It's a lot. No, just kidding.
Well, it could be. It could
So with a personalized income plan, and at least with our software, we actually do look at not just your taxes year by year, but we look at your lifetime taxes, which is a scary number, by the way, and kind of depressing. But once we look at that number and we say, okay, if we make some changes here, does that number go down, right? And if that number goes down, that's a good thing because, yeah, obviously more money in your pocket is a lot better than more money in Uncle Sam's pocket. So that's one of the things that you really need to be doing. If your financial advisor is not helping estimate and lower your lifetime taxes, I think you're really missing the boat. And I find most tax people don't do that either. So, it is a critical thing because it's one of the biggest levers. Between spending and taxes are probably the two biggest effects on your retirement. How much money you make is probably third or fourth.
Wow. Huh.
So
interesting. Yep. Okay. And in that toolbox is that blueprint to your retirement. And that's where you talk about, tax strategies in retirement. All right. Here is another question for you. And kind of along what you just said, how do I know if I've saved enough for retirement? It maybe isn't top on the list, but I bet you get that question a lot.
No, that's a pretty big one. And yeah, it's kind of piggybacks on, will my money last as long as I do, right? That's kind of the two sides of the same issue. And so, yeah, it's really the only way is having a personalized income plan, one that's designed for your specific situation. So knowing first and foremost, the real number, how much you spend. So again, do that no BS budget, take those last 12 months of bank statements, divide by 12, all the withdrawals. And that's the real number of what you spent. And I probably guarantee you it's 20 to 40% higher than you think. And sometimes a little shocking. But once you know that number, then you can look at your assets and say, okay, if I'm living off that much money with inflation, taxes, everything calculated, will it last as long as I do? If it runs out when you're 75 versus 95, well, those are obviously very different situations. And yeah, you kind of need to do a lot more planning or change some things if it's running out 75. 95, probably okay. But that's one of the critical pieces of the planning for retirement is really having and knowing what that personalized income plan is going to be, because then you know how much you can spend. And if you start spending too much, you also know you're spending too much, which you need to know way sooner than later.
Right. I love how you come alongside people. You can kind of be their guardrail and also give them that clarity, almost. Yeah.
And sometimes have to not yell at them in a nice way, but just kind of like a coach, right? Say, you're spending way too much money. So
reel it in.
Yep.
Back it up. All right. Here's another retiree question, and I think this is a good one. What are some of my options for income in retirement? Talk about that.
Yeah, well, most of us don't have a pension anymore, so the only kind of lifetime income we pretty much get is Social Security, which, we know there's issues there too. Something will always be there, but it might be reduced at some point. And so, yeah, now it's back to you, right? It's all on you. It's not, your company's not going to take care of you. Nobody else is going to take care of you. And likely your kids might not even take care of you, right? So, how are you going to do that? And so there are some great products out there, what I call foundational income type monies, where the principal is guaranteed, but it can pay you some good withdrawals, or even pay you a guaranteed income stream for life, and setting up your own kind of pension, your own kind of, social security, but my security, or whatever you want to call it. Right. That's, I think, critical nowadays, because you need to have that money. You need to have some money that, is going to be there year in, year out, and without fail, without market volatility and all the other craziness stuff that you have to, go through.
Okay, and then a real quick one here, and we don't know enough about this, I don't think, all of us. What do I do with my 401k after I retire?
Yeah, well, typically you want to roll that to an IRA, individual retirement account, and kind of combine all your accounts into that format. And then from there, that's where you're going to start figuring out how much can I take out, maybe doing some tax planning. Should I be doing some Roth conversions along the way? Again, that's one of those pieces of the puzzle of how am I going to live for the rest of my life with this money. So that could be money that you move into some of these foundational assets. So, the hard part about this is it's always one answer, and it's the answer that, I guess it is a 4-letter word, called plan.
Yeah,
right? You need to have a plan. And, nobody likes that. It's a lot more fun to spend, a lot more fun to do vacation plans than it is to do a financial plan.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get that financial plan right, you can probably get a lot more vacations. So, take the time out and really take care of yourself. So, one of the things with the blueprint to worry less wealth, that's what we do, is we first and foremost go through, after we had that first discovery call that we do with you, the worry less wealth call. We set up another time to say, okay, well, where is your income plan? Well, let's look at where you're headed. Let's look at where your investments are. Are they positioned to give you that income? What's the tax ramifications? What's the healthcare issues along the way? And then, of course, legacy. Who gets your money when you're gone? So those are the 5 areas that everybody really needs to have a plan for. And, that's what we do when we sit down and talk with somebody. So, again, if you want to set up that time to do that, we've got a link inside our digital toolbox to do that. We also have a lot of other great information. Will my money last as long as I do? The Social Security decision. So lots of great stuff. All you have to do to get access to all that is just text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or download directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
All right. And this is Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. We're going to take a few minutes now and do a little lightning round for Eric, ask him a bunch of questions, get to know him a little more. So we're going to go 2 minutes, Eric. Okay. And I am going to start the timer now. And here's my first question. What is your biggest industry frustration?
Probably financial advisors who don't do taxes, and then tax people who don't do financial stuff.
Aha.
Those two need to be combined.
Right. Okay. Favorite TV show of all time?
Of all time?
I guess.
That's a tougher one.
Yeah. I know.
I don't know. I used to watch MASH a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I guess I could throw that one in.
MASH. Love it. Do you have a favorite color?
Just like our logo, green.
I love it. Green. And color you wear the most? Same thing?
No, oddly enough. Well, green's a little tougher sometimes to pull off. So
yeah. What do you wear
I
the
don't
most?
know. Probably I always have a suit on, so either black or blue. So
Oh, nice. Okay. And then how many pets do you guys have?
just one dog. He's really old, but
what's his name?
He still moves. Jax.
Oh, what kind?
He was a rescue dog, so
Aw.
Lhasa Poo or something like that.
Oh, cute. Love that. What is your go-to late night snack?
Try never to do that anymore. So don't try to eat after 8 or 9.
Okay.
So
Good to know.
although sometimes I'll have frozen bananas. Those are a good healthy snack.
Get you. Okay. First job.
Well, my first illegal job was painting houses at 14 for a painting contractor. Got money under the table, but my first official job was working at what was Raging Waters, and now it's called Calibunga. But it was a water park.
Oh, fun. Okay. Favorite sports team.
Sadly, the San Jose Sharks, but we'll see if
Sharks.
that improves.
Okay. Last one. Financial advice you would hope your kids never forget.
Probably pay yourself first. You'll never end up having extra money, so you got to have you got to pay yourself first, because the extra money never shows up. So if you wait till I have extra money, it ain't going to happen. So yeah, no, I mean, and that's why we've set up again all these, great downloads in our digital toolbox. So, again, if you want to get access to that link and get access to some of these, they're about 10 to 15 pages. They're really great information, pretty jargon free, pretty quick reads. So all you have to do is text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or download directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
Would you rather pay more or less in taxes? If you want to pay more, don't do anything. If you want to pay less, talk to Eric Heckman to see what's possible for you. 800-454-1184. That's 800-454-1184.
Hi, I'm Lou Ann Fulmer here with Eric Heckman. And every week on our show, Eric and I often discuss challenges and risks that exist in retirement. And right now, this part, Eric's going to give us an example of, what someone has done and experienced a retirement obstacle, kind of, telling us things maybe we should not do. So, all right, Eric, tell us about this financial fail.
Yeah, I mean, this one's a little bit more general, I guess, is really just all the bubbles that we've seen and come and go. I've seen a lot of clients or a lot of people I met with that weren't clients of mine more often than not, where they had a ton of money. Sometimes they just got lucky. They just happened to buy the right stock, and it went from, I just met with somebody who went from $1 million to 1.3 million. And the time he finally started selling some off. But I've met with somebody that had it shot up and then went right back down. And so, one of the things is lots of times people ask, well, why do bubbles happen? Why did people, why were people like not smart about what happened and such? Well, how could they have made those decisions? Blah, blah, blah. Right. But really what happens is all these bubbles that happen over the time. So if you talk about the .com, if you talk about, the real estate meltdown, all these different things that's happened, is we all think that we're all playing the same game when we're buying a stock. Well, we think we're all buying it for the long term. But what happens is as the stock gets hotter and hotter and hotter, more and more people buy it for short-term gain. And so what happens is once all those short-term people get to be a bigger number than all the long-term people think it's great because look how many people are buying it, but they're not buying it for a long time. They're buying it for maybe a day, maybe a week, maybe a month. And so you think it's, even though it looks overvalued, you say, oh, well, all these other people are buying it, so it must still be good. And that is totally incorrect. So that, that's one of the things where you kind of go, okay, well, how can you fix these, right? How can you do some stuff to prevent that? And the simplest thing that I've told people for the last 30 years is just put, limit orders on things. So I've got a lot of clients that, work at Apple, work at Google, some of these places that, have done fantastic over time. Now you don't want to just dump and run. I mean, I just met with somebody who been at Google for about 20 years, but he would always sell the stock right away. Well, some of his coworkers have a couple million more than he has because of, or several, because they held on to it. And, a lot of times you do want to sell, but how do you have that, middle area, right? Mm-hmm. And so one of the simple things is just have a stop loss where it says, okay, if it drops so much at a certain number, it'll sell. And then also have a limit order. When it goes up so high, it'll sell. It doesn't have to be all the shares, just, some part of it. So as long as you keep making it real, I've got one client that's been at Apple and we've been doing it for the last couple of years, and he's getting close to about $300,000 a year that he'll be getting in retirement just from all the places we've moved his money over these years. So he's almost to the point where he doesn't care what Apple stock does. Huh. And once you have that freedom, you can be retired and enjoying life. Thank you for tuning in to Wealth Creator Radio. I'm Eric Heckman, and it's been a pleasure guiding you towards a more confident and secure retirement. Remember, my responsibility is to always do what's right for you, our client. Together, we can cut out that fancy-sounding financial jargon that doesn't help and focus on what truly matters for your financial future. If you're ready to take control of your retirement planning and build a personalized income plan, contact us at 454-1184 and text the word Toolbox to schedule a complimentary consultation. If you're looking for more resources and tools to build your retirement future, don't forget to check out that Wealth Creator Toolbox, your toolkit for a secure and confident retirement journey. Until next time, retire more and worry less with Wealth Creator Radio.
Information provided during Wealth Creator Radio is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute investment, tax, or legal advice. Information has been obtained from sources that are deemed to be reliable, but their accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Individuals should thoroughly review the contract for specific details of the product features and costs. Income payments and withdrawals from deferred annuities are generally taxable as ordinary income in the year they are taken. Eric Heckman offers investment advisory services through Heckman Financial and Insurance Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Any tax advice given as part of this presentation is not intended to be used and cannot be used by the taxpayer for the purpose of avoiding tax penalties or promoting, marketing, or recommending to another party any matter or transaction addressed herein. The views and opinions expressed in the program are not necessarily those of the radio station or its sponsors, and they should not construe as legal, tax, or investment advice. You should always consult the appropriate advisor before making any financial decision.